All right, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of The Teardown. My name is Jeff Gluck. I'm along with Jordan Bianchi. We are motorsports writers for The Athletic, and today we're here to talk about the Las Vegas race. I'm here in Las Vegas, the first true test of the season it was being billed as, because it was the first intermediate track of the season, at least not a super speedway version. And of course, this is the race where I always jump to conclusions about what's going to happen this season.
You jump to conclusions every week. You jump to conclusions every week. Like, this is now you actually have a valid excuse though of why you're jumping to conclusions. Like, it's legit this week.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's in the past I've said, oh, like Stuart Haas may be good. A couple years ago, I was trying to tell you Stuart Haas might be good. Oh, last year I told you Josh Berry has now broken out as the fourth Penske car, and we're going to see more of that. But well, don't laugh at me. I think that was a perfectly valid thing. You probably said that too. However, I do think that what we learned here today was a validation of what we thought was pretty much going to happen, which is the JGR cars, the Toyotas, they looked great again, as they did last fall when they finished for the top five. The Hendrick cars with their new body, the new Chevy body, they looked just fine. It didn't seem they weren't off or anything like that. They were sort of the second best to Toyota and to the JGR cars, which is what it was last fall as well. And they were very competitive, obviously. Could have easily won this race. Then you look at the 2311 cars. They were pretty solid, but kind of faded a little bit on that last green flag run, but they were about top 10 cars. The Penske cars, we would have thought, as part of the big three, we'd see a little bit more from them. They were going to finish. They're probably going to have two cars in the top 10, but Ryan Blaney and Austin Cindric got caught on that last pit cycle. And so they weren't able to get back up there. Logano was like 15th all day, though. They weren't very good. So Penske, a little bit of a head scratcher. The best Ford team, though, I think took a step up, and we got confirmation on them being better this year, as they have been, was RFK Racing, 3 cars in the top 11. So that's, roughly what we thought. I think Trackhouse, though, by a little bit off of what we would have thought to see. And then the other teams, Spire missed it pretty big today. So I guess Chris Gabehart's vaunted Las Vegas setup notes in the Spire folder.
They weren't given to in the court case. Those got deleted, Jeff. That was in the Spire folder, and that has now been, if you read the court documents, that is gone. So yeah, that is.
Well, I don't think he ever. Yeah. I know there's more court stuff to talk about. Yeah,
I'm kidding. Rushmore was making moves. I mean, he was running top 15 or so. He was kind of flirting with the top 10, and then he had a flat tire at the end of stage 2. Then he got caught speeding on that sequence there, and it just derailed the day. And they just got behind the 8 ball. And with no cautions, it's or a few cautions, it's really hard to get back in the game. So that took them out. But yeah, tough day. Out of everything you mentioned, and you're right, and we kind of talked about this last week of like, hey, we kind of feel like we know where the Gibbs cars are. Hendrick kind of feels like they're in the same spot. It's like kind of business as usual, right, with everything. But the one thing that really jumped out to me was, if we're going to pull something from this and extrapolate it, is that the RFK cars and the intermediate tracks look really, really strong today. And I think that is really huge. They, over the past few years, been really up and down. And sometimes they look really good. Chris Buescher won at Michigan. Brad Keselowski won at Darlington. And then other times they're just okay. But they look like they have a lot of speed in their race cars, and that bodes really well when you look at Texas upcoming, Kansas upcoming, Charlotte here in this next stretch. And this is a really good opportunity for these 3 drivers to take advantage of this and pad that point total as much as you can and try to build up a buffer, because they tend to ebb and flow, as we've seen. And when that inevitably, it seems like it's going to probably rescind a little bit, that performance, build that up. And at least that way you can fall back on that a little bit. It seems like they're kind of taking advantage of that right now.
Well, I mean, we have talked before the season that we thought Chris Buescher would be the biggest beneficiary of the new chase format, because he is always solid and he's always seemingly up there in points. Doesn't win a lot of races, doesn't lead a lot of laps, doesn't finish top 5 a lot necessarily, but he's up there. And so, he was the one today that broke up the Gibbs and Hendrick party, right? Like the whole top 8 is all Gibbs and all Hendrick, except for Chris Buescher in 6th place. And he is 9th in the points, which is where he was coming into today. But all 3 RFK cars are within the top 13 in points. And, again, they all finished in the top 11 today. So they are running solid. But I think today also was a big, proving point for Hendrick to just say, hey, look, any concerns about our new body? Are we going to be off a little bit to start? It didn't seem like it. Larson, I talked to Larson afterwards. He said felt like a normal race to them. I asked Chase Elliott. I said, Larson said it felt like a normal race car. Did it feel any different to you? And he said, I could maybe tell like little things here and there, but he said the gains that we made, like him finishing second, he said, I think that was more like internal setup stuff that we did than like attributable to the car. So like they just did a good job of making improvements at Vegas for him. So, it seems like they have something normal-ish to work with. It's not going to be some like huge game changer either way on these type of tracks. But I think that's probably what they, expected or wanted it to be, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of the talking points over the offseason was how were the Chevrolets going to race because they redesigned nose. And I was like, it was exhausting. It was a really tired talking point, I felt like, because we've seen this before, where you have such a long runway to make gains and everything. And an organization like Hendrick is going to be okay. Like, I mean, yeah, they may be a little slow here and there, but ultimately, by summer, they're going to find their footing and be okay. And obviously, it seems like they're much better off now than maybe some people expected, and they're in a really good spot. And Chase Elliott was, it looked like he was maybe running down Hamlin there, and Hamlin did a great job, and we're going to get into that. But Elliott finished second here today, which is his best finish in Las Vegas since 2021. Like this has been statistically one of, if not his worst track. He just has not ran well here at all. I think he's got only one top 10 or something like that, since 2021. But he was up in the top 10 all day today. They had Byron was good. They had clean races too, which is not something we've talked a lot about Hendrick Motorsports lately, about having just, green flag to checkered flag, like no issues on pit road, no setbacks. It was just a rather straightforward day.
Yeah. I mean, Larson had, I think, a little bit of a hiccup on one of his last pit stops, but nothing major penalty wise. Yeah. But I will I'll push back a little bit in terms of like that it was a tired talking point about Chevy's body, because when I think it was Penske started slow a few years ago, and then by the summer they picked it up and won a bunch, and everybody's like, oh, Ford's off. What's wrong with Ford? The new car or whatever, right? And then, everybody just won their way in. With this point system, though, you can't really afford to just like have that bad of a spring and you get better in the summer, because you give up so much playoff seating now and so many points. So I do think it was important for Chevy to come out and show like, hey, we're just fine. We're our normal selves here. But I thought Larson could have easily won this race. He was in control of it for a while. He said, on that, there was that one moment where they were all three wide and he kind of lost control of the race at that point. He fell to fourth. He got in some dirty air. Then they kind of had a bad pit stop there, or a little bit of a slower pit stop. I think he lost 3 spots at that point. And so he just wasn't able to get back up there. But, obviously Elliott could have potentially won. He was tracking down Hamlin pretty well. I mean, depending on what the lap traffic could have done. So, I think it was, if you're Hendrick, you leave here going, okay, we've got something to work with here for sure. But if you're Toyota, and especially Gibbs, you leave here going, oh yeah, we are exactly what we thought we would be. We knew we would be the fastest. I mean, they swept the top 2 rows of qualifying. Christopher Bell won the pole, and in the pole press conference yesterday, he's seeing Denny. Denny was on his way out, and he's like, don't go too fast, Denny. Slow down, Denny. Because he was saying that Denny was going to be the car to beat today. Denny felt that way. And sure enough, I mean, aside from his speeding penalty, he probably would have dominated much more than he did, right? So he gets a speeding penalty and is able to drive all the way back through the field, win the race. He got up there again pretty quickly, considering a penalty in a next-gen car on an intermediate track. Before, there was times when you wouldn't really be able to see a car come back from that. So they had fast cars all day. Chase Briscoe overcame a penalty. It took him a while to get back on the lead lap. He was able to get back up there and, show that he had a top 10 car, but he said he probably had a top 3 car. He just screwed up. Ty Gibbs gets his 3rd straight top 5 finish. I think it's the first time in his career he's had 3 straight top 5s.
Yep.
And then Christopher Bell was right there all day. And Christopher Bell has shown again and again that he once again has the speed this year. So Gibbs overall is looking like they're in pretty good form right now.
Yeah, I mean, Toyota overall winning 4 of the first 5. Daytona and Atlanta are never tracks where they tend to get really good, strong finishes. But they get wins there. They back it up with a win at Coda, and then you come to a Las Vegas, and it's like you've won on a super speedway, you've won on a road course, and then you come here on an intermediate track and you're fast. It's like they're just all around. It looks like their performance is really clicking. It's like if you're Toyota and you're Joe Gibbs Racing, like, can we just bottle that? Like, just put that away and come back in the fall, because when you look at how the playoffs set up, it's intermediate tracks. That's going to help really pave the way to the championship. But they look really, really good right now. And part of the Toyota thing, though, is like, I think we need to tip our hat again to 2311, because Reddick won the first 2 races, and it was like, drafting tracks this. And then he goes to the road course. It's like, okay, but let's get to the real tracks. Goes to Phoenix, runs well. Top 10 all day today. I know he faded to 11th, but still in the top 10 all day, in the mix. And then Bubba Wallace, like, just quietly just knocking out solid, really good, consistent finishes. Worst finish this year is 11th, and sitting second in points now. Like, the question was 2311, it's just a lightning in the bottle? Was just like, they're legit guys. Like, I keep saying this, like, they really are. And it just seems like they're here to play. And I mean, honestly, if you look at what 2311 is at right now in Team Penske, and maybe this is a hot take, but I feel more confident in what 2311 is going to do over the season than I do Penske right now, because I think this format is going to, we've talked about it when it changed, but this is going to hurt Penske in a lot of ways. They have not had consistent speed on intermediate racetracks for some time. They have had moments, particularly the 12, where they're fast, but the 22 and the 2 have had a lot of times where they're up, they're down, and there's no steady high-level performance. Harvick said it today in the broadcast. So the 22 used to be so good at Las Vegas, but then they switched this car and they're just off. They look to be reeling a little bit.
I'm still thinking that Penske is the big 3. I know you've said that it's a big 4 with 2311, but I think 2311 is more, sort of on an RFK level. I think RFK is sort of that second half of the top 10. I think 2311 is a lot. Yes, 2311 had some good moments today, but ultimately they faded to 9th and 13th. They were up there for a while, but I 2 super speedways in a road course, I think, is skewing a little bit of how we're viewing them right now. And I think Spire, when they hit it, can be right up there in that second tier. But I don't think it's a big 4 yet, and I certainly don't think that 2311 at this point, I'm not ready to proclaim them as replacing Penske in a big 3 type situation. I'm just not. But maybe it is a big 2 though with I think Hendrick and Gibbs.
There's a clear gap right now. It's like Penske or Gibbs and Hendrick are 1, 2 or 1A, 1B, and then there's a gap. You mentioned Spire. Spire has got potential. I don't see that. I mean, they have to put that potential together though. And there's too many weeks like today where organizationally they just don't have the finishes. Michael McDowell had a terrible weekend. And what we saw with Hocevar again, like, he has to clean that up. Like, mistakes like this continue to happen. Like, a flat tire, okay, happens. But then you speed on pit road. Can't happen. You can't have things like this when you're an organization like that, and you're going to need every point you can to get into those last few playoff spots. I'm still waiting for them to break through. If you look at RFK, they've got the wins. I mean, Chris Buescher won 3 races in the season not too long ago. Keselowski's won with that. Priest has been in the mix. We're still waiting for Spire to really punch through. We both believe that they're going to do it, but they actually at some point actually have to do it.
Well, Spire has all 3 cars right now in the top 16, although there's a tie for 16, so it's a little bit misleading. RFK also does as well. And so now we're starting to see more of the people that we thought would be up there making the playoffs, right? Like, because you've got the 2 2311 drivers. You've got 2 of the Penske drivers. I know I think I had Austin Cindric in there. I can't remember if I did and you didn't, one of those, but and obviously, like, you've seen the Hendrick drivers get up there. Obviously, we both had Bowman in, and that's not going to happen at this point. But Ty Gibbs, Bell, Hamlin have all overcome stuff. Briscoe is still buried a bit, but he gained 7 spots today with his finish. That was pretty important for him to be able to overcome that. But now suddenly you see Bell has gotten back in contention for a top 3 seed. Hamlin's back in contention for a top 3 seed. And so, we are seeing the cream rise to the top slowly after this weird, start to the season with the, unusual schedule, I guess, with the different tracks. But we're about what we thought we would be seeing. I think if you would have said before the season, what do you think we'll see at Vegas? This is probably about it. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what we said. I mean, it was a windy road to get here. You had Daytona, you had Atlanta, you had a road course. Like, you had some different things happen, but we ended up with many of the players that we expected are very much in the mix, are certainly asserting themselves a little bit or rising there. So really no surprises. The only guy we're still kind of waiting for is Chase Briscoe, who had a great run today, but they've just been snake bit a little bit. But this is very much it. And the last time we were in Las Vegas, it was Denny Hamlin winning. And guess what? We go back to Las Vegas, it's Denny Hamlin winning again. And this time it's 61st victory.
61 victories puts him alone in the top 10 on the all-time wins list, breaking the tie with Harvick. And obviously an emotional scene there for Denny Hamlin as he had his family there with him this time. His mom's able to come out. His family wasn't there for the 60th. And so obviously, you get to see his kids riding in the car with him. And, very touching to see his mom saying, my boy, my boy. That was really sweet. I just did a big story for The Athletic last week, shadowing Denny, going to an appearance he had in Phoenix and just talking to him about on the ride there and back about the fan support and how things have changed and, how he viewed things and why he's still going. I do think that one thing that we can't, look, you assume that you're going to get this out of Denny, right? Like, okay, it's his last 2 years and sure, like he'll probably still be competitive. He'll probably still win. But you have to have wondered going into the season, you hear about the motivation. Is that still there? Like, does he still have it, in his heart? Is his heart still in it? You hear about his shoulder. Is that going to cause problems? And, you're just like, I don't know. I mean, and the age thing, at some point we've seen some of these drivers drop off.
Absolutely.
And so he is, I mean, he's racing father time. He's racing the end of his career. The clock is ticking. And so to see him, have a very complete weekend like this, come out, lead the most laps, 134 laps. Again, there was a speeding penalty and he, who knows how many he could have led without that. But I think it's a big statement of like, okay, he still got it. And it's a statement to himself as well of like, you come back after what you did last year, you just don't know, right? Like, I mean, even look at Kyle Larson. Isn't he on like I think I saw he's 29 race winless streak now or something? You don't know when these droughts are going to come and it's hard to win these races. So for him to be able to come out and do this, it's a big moment.
Yeah. I think what this does is it reinforces just how mentally tough Denny Hamlin is. And that, even throughout his whole career, when there's been a lot of noise and extracurricular stuff going on, he's always been able to like buckle down and focus. And you go back, was it 09, Jeff, he had the knee injury. He comes out, wins at Martinsville, and people are questioning, why are you playing basketball? Why are you doing this? And like he shuts everybody up by winning at Martinsville. There's just been moments throughout his career where it's been like this. And we have seen the maturation of Denny Hamlin where he's always been incredibly talented, but now he's got a work ethic and to match it. And he has, and I think that is ultimately what separates him from everyone else. And you asked him the question post-race, and it's such a good one about how, since 2019, he's been able to win more races, than the first part of his career. And that is not, and it's because he's embraced this grinding behind the scenes, I'm going to outwork everybody mindset. Or you talk to people at Gibbs, he's the guy on the simulator. He's the driver who's in the simulator doing all that stuff. And he is the guy who's figuring out, hey, we need to do this, this, and this. He's putting in that time. So when you have talent and you have a work ethic, you can, fend off father time a lot longer than some other people. But again, and I'm going to use this example again and again. I go back to Jimmy Johnson in 2017. Jimmy in 2016 wins a championship, comes out in 2017, wins 3 races, pretty much in a hurry. and he wins in Dover and kicks everybody's butt, and you're like, man, he's on a roll now. You know, he's going to get that 8th championship, and guess what? Never won again. You just don't know, and that's the sad reality. Is like, I mean, I hate to say it, but this could be Denny Hamlin's last win because we have seen it happen before, where it just stops, but that's reality. But if he continues to work like this and continues to put himself in position when you're with a great team like this, the opportunity should be there.
Well, Denny pointed out in the post-race news conference that the last time his daughter got to ride in the car with him, I think he said he thought it was the only other time. That was the Pocono win that ended up taken away. So he was hoping that this time inspection would be clear. And we have just found out live here on the podcast that inspection is clear. Race is official. So no loss of the win this time for Denny. But yeah, I mean, it is sort of that, like, it was very interesting post-race, Jordan, to hear. We had Chris Gale come in, and Jenna Fryer asked some great questions about Chris Gale's mentality after last year. We haven't really heard about the end of that, right? Like Chris Gale talked about, he went home, 3 days and just stewed on what they could have done different at Phoenix and the 4-tire call and all that stuff. Infamous, right? And then we heard from Denny Hamlin when he came in that they've never really talked about it. Like, and Denny said the reason that he never really wanted to hear about it is because he kind of agreed and there was nothing that would have changed it. And, if Bowman isn't right, with Larson there, maybe something's different about that restart. And if 2 more cars don't stay out, it's all just, it's too hard to go back and second guess. And so Denny just never wanted to talk about it. They kind of didn't talk the whole off season. Like Denny had his stuff going on, obviously. And so it was, we kind of got the first post-mortem from both of them talking more about it than we've heard. And it was just interesting in the way that they both just were ready to move on and tackle what's ahead. And, but I think that's kind of the mentality you have to have, right? Like in this sport, when things don't go right, you've got to just keep moving forward. And if you dwell too much on the past, it's going to come back to bite you. I mean, even I was doing a 12 questions interview with William Byron that's running next week. And, he was saying that one thing that really annoys him is when he gets like Wednesday or Thursday of the next week of that week. And people are still bringing up what happened from this weekend. Like he said, he'll think about it and talk about it Monday and Tuesday, but then he's over it and moving on.
Yeah.
And when people are like, man, that finish you had last weekend, like it annoys him. So I think that's the mentality you have to have, right? Like on to the next race. And that's what the winner mindset is.
You have to. You are going to inevitably lose more races than you win, period. That's the way it is. And no driver in the history of the sport, great drivers won more races than they started. That's just the way it is. And if you dwell and you let the negative focus, it's going to consume you. It's going to eat at you. And and it also will hinder a team, and it creates a lot of doubt. And you've heard this from teams that have had success before. Then they stub their toe, and they're like, "Well, we're having some issues here." A lot of finger pointing happens, and it can derail a team so quickly. And we've seen it happen so many times. So you have to have the mentality. You have to be able to move forward. You have to push it behind you. And it's not celebrating the highs too much. It's not getting too down the lows. It's just keeping an even keel. And that's the best teams, the best drivers have been able to do that through the years, instead of just trying to ride this emotional roller coaster, because this is a 36 race season and you're going to have stretches where things go really, really well. You're also going to have weeks consecutively where they go bad, and you just have to be able to weather that. And like Chase Briscoe right now is a really good example of that. Of that team could be bemoaning their bad luck and saying, "Oh, we had the speed and this and that." It's like, no, we're just going to go. We're going to go do our thing. And even today, Briscoe gets a penalty, 2 penalties, and there's no pointing fingers or bad mouthing on the radio, or like you've heard that before. It was just like, nope, we're going to be okay. We're going to get this back. And that's what they do. And that's the mentality you need to have success in the sport long term.
Denny now has 61 wins. The next person is Kyle Busch with 63. After that, it's Earnhardt with 76. So Denny Hamlin's not going to be catching Dale Earnhardt, certainly, with less than 2 years now left in his career, at least what we think. Does Denny Hamlin pass Kyle Busch? He needs 2 more to catch him, 3 more to pass him. He has a season and almost 2 full seasons left. Will he do that, Jordan?
Oh yes. I mean, as much as I sit there and say, like, you don't know when Father Time is gonna beat you up. Yes, Denny Hamlin's gonna do this. Denny Hamlin's gonna win at least 2 more races this year. So he will at a minimum tie Kyle Busch, and I wouldn't be shocked if Denny wins 4 or 5 this year, just because he's that good of a driver, and that Joe Gibbs Racing is that good. Heck, in 2 weeks, he may time at Martinsville. Like, don't forget, like, we're going to Darlington next week, where he's the defending race winner, and then you're going to Martinsville, and then Bristol, by the way. So, like, I mean, it could happen real quick here. And then here's the question for you, Jeff: does Kyle Busch win again? Like, I mean, Kyle Busch could not be. Maybe you shouldn't consider Kyle Busch a moving target. It's like a stationary target right now.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, we're projecting into the future here. Certainly things are not going well for Kyle Busch at RCR at all.
They had a day again today, by the way.
It is just really not, it's getting uncomfortable to watch. I mean, they're way off. Now, so do I think he's going to win at RCR? It's tough to picture that at this point, even a super speedway race or something, right? So what's the rest of his career hold, right? Like, does he go to Spire, and is he able to win at Spire? And, maybe he picks up 1 or 2 more wins in his career or something there? Or does he have a career revitalization late in his career? I mean, he's still younger than Denny, obviously. So, whatever target Denny ends up putting out there, by the time he's done, does Kyle end up passing that? I think at this point, it certainly seems to be trending that Denny's going to finish his career with more wins. Now, I don't know if I have permission to share this, but he sent me this, so maybe I'm allowed to talk about it. But, Daniel Cespedes, the great data analytics guy, statistician, he puts all this stuff on X. He's coming out with this post tomorrow that he gave me a preview of. It's charting Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch's career Cup wins, like the lines going together, right? And at one point, Kyle Busch was 22 wins ahead of Denny Hamlin. Mm-hmm. He was winning. He had 55 wins to Denny's 33 career wins. And now obviously Denny has caught him. Since Kyle Busch's last win, Denny Hamlin has won 12 times. So you would think that if he keeps this up, he is going to surpass him. It's just a matter of when he does, and whatever few years are left in Kyle's career, will Kyle be able to then pass that? It's tough to picture right now.
I'm going to go back even further about Kyle Busch. You go back to 2020. So he wins the championship in 2019. That was really, you could say, arguably his last great year, right? And starting in 2020, Denny Hamlin has won 24 races. Kyle Busch has won 7. Like, I mean, their 2 careers have just gone in complete opposite directions. And this is one of the great what ifs, I think, in NASCAR is what happens if Kyle Busch doesn't move Joe Gibbs Motorsports? What happens if he leaves Joe Gibbs Racing and he goes to 2311 instead of a rebuilding Richard Childress Racing? That is going to be the one great thing I think people are going to look back on, because if he stays with Gibbs, you would think he'd be in a lot better spot to continue to get these wins. But their careers right now are just, it's completely 2 different directions.
The longevity for Denny Hamlin is also very impressive. He became the 5th driver in Cup Series history to win in 20 different seasons. It's not necessarily in a row. He has had a winless season, but it's Richard Petty, Bobby Allison, Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, and Denny Hamlin. Those are the 5 drivers. Denny was talking afterwards. He referenced the Mount Rushmore of NASCAR and said, I've raced against 2 of the guys on the Mount Rushmore of NASCAR and gotten to see these greats up close. I assume he's talking about Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson. My Mount Rushmore of drivers would also include Dale Earnhardt and Richard Petty. I know there's some debate about putting David Pearson up there. So I'm not sure what to do with that, but what's your Mount Rushmore? You're smiling here.
Yeah, I'm refraining from going on my Richard Petty critique.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You're not going to put Richard Petty on the Mount Rushmore of NASCAR. I hope you're.
I didn't say that. I did not say that.
Okay.
I did not say that he didn't deserve a spot in there. I don't know. I guess Richard, Jimmy, Jeff. I have to think about that one. I really do. I don't know. I don't know. I guess
you're between Pearson and Earnhardt.
Yeah, I really am. Pearson was so good. I mean, I know Dale's got the champion. I know Pearson doesn't have the championships, but he's got 105 wins. And you look at what he ran 5 full seasons in NASCAR, 5 or 6 full seasons. He won 3 championships. I mean, he was terrific. And if he would have had the longevity and ran the full time like Petty did with that kind of backing, like he would have had a lot more championships and certainly would have had a lot more wins. I mean, there are people that we respect, and I won't name it. Like we respect in this industry who will tell you David Pearson is the best of all time.
And, well, Mike Hembry says that. Mike Hembry saw.
Yes. So
well, he says it publicly. I mean, Mike Hembry, the great journalist who covered that era of both, Petty and Pearson, and has seen everyone in between and since then all the time, says swears Pearson's the best driver in NASCAR history. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, and so that's where I come down on the Petty Pearson thing, and that's but the numbers with Petty you can't ignore it and everything. But Dale was Dale, right? And so it's really hard to and how do you and I struggle with, and we did this 75 rank, the top 75 Cup Series drivers thing a few years ago, and I said then I thought Jimmy Johnson was like head and shoulders, was going to clear everybody out, like just he's the unquestioned number one. And honestly, looking back, like I think we had it wrong. I really, the more I've looked at it, the more I've talked to people, the more I've read and researched, I think Jeff was that level too. It's like a 1A, 1B thing with those guys, and I have a really hard time separating them. Yes,
Jeff and Jimmy.
Jeff and Jimmy, yeah.
I mean, Jimmy beat Jeff head to head when they had the same stuff.
He did, but Jeff's heyday though was just incredible. Like
I get that.
Yeah, and so that's where it's just is it longevity? Is it just that short greatness? I mean, Petty had longevity, and that's the thing. The 20 years, winning it over 20 years is remarkable. That's just the thing. And then you look at like road course wins, and that's a silly statistic, but Jimmy only won once on a road course. Dale only won once on a road course, or Jeff was unbeatable, and Jeff's talent was such at a high level, people were thinking he could go to Formula One. So it's really hard just to narrow it down to 4. I know it's a cop-out answer, but it doesn't feel like you can do any of these guys justice by saying, hey, it's these 4 and that's it.
All right. Well, a little sidetrack there, but since Denny brought it up on his thing, I thought I would get your thoughts on that. So also in this race, there's a lot going on, but sort of at the end there, you had a little skirmish between former teammates Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez. Now, Ross Chastain finished 17th. Trackhouse cars did not have a good day. Shane Van Gisbergen finished last. And I guess partly that was the splitter damage from that save on the first lap when he hit the apron, but Shane Van Gisbergen tumbled 13 spots. Well, really, he's tied for.
He holds the tiebreaker,
I guess. Yeah. So he tumbled 11 spots from 5th in points. That really hurt him because Vegas was a good track for him last fall until he got caught up in a wreck, and so that was really unfortunate. Zilich was going to be okay, and then Stenhouse pretty much slammed on the brakes right in front of him trying to get to pit road. Zilich felt like with no warning, and so that caused the only caution of the day that was not for a stage. And by the way, the fewest cautions at an intermediate track in the next gen era, I looked up after the race. I went through all the intermediate track races, and there's been some ovals that had this few or fewer, but not on an intermediate. So that was kind of surprising. But anyway, yeah, Chastain, that wasn't where Trackhouse wanted to be, but so they finished 17th and 18th, and afterwards, I don't know what preceded this, right? Like, because I never saw it.
Nobody can figure it out. Because I went back and looked too, and there's no like one incident where you're like, oh, this is it.
Well, I tried to talk to Ross Chastain afterwards, and he said not a chance that he was going to comment on this. Did not want to get into it. Front Stretch and NASCAR.com did go to find Suarez. And so this is what Suarez has, according to the great Zach Storniolo of NASCAR.com. He says that he quotes Suarez as saying, "We got together a little bit in corner 2 and he was mad about it." So then it looks like, Suarez went over to talk to Chastain about it, according to, the in-car that we saw. So they're talking. And then at one point, Chastain shoves Suarez and is like saying, "Get out, get away from here." Right. Then you see another great Lauren Emling, Ross's PR representative, step right in there. She's like,
she ain't backing down. Don't mess with her, by the way, because she will hurt you.
I mean, Lauren Emling, what a badass to go in there. She's like, Daniel, she knows Daniel, right, from when they were at Trackhouse, and she's dealt with both them, and she's like, guys, she's just no hesitation. Lauren just jumps right in there. So I love that. You don't
even NASCAR security. Like, just let her handle it.
Lauren just like, no, like her body language, she was just like, no.
No. She looked like a disappointed mom, like telling them, you two idiots need to knock it off right now and go to your room, or you're both grounded right now.
I read her body language as more as like, nah, this is not happening. Like, yeah, this is whatever you think's going to happen here is not happening. Just don't even waste your time. But yeah. Anyway, so Suarez goes on to say to NASCAR.com in Front Stretch, "I was having a conversation. He was all spun out. He's just upset or something. I mean, for some reason, our relationship has always been very weird, almost like a little bit of two-faced on his part for some reason. And today I saw actually what I thought he had in his mind for a while." Ooh. And so, by the way, like, I think this is, again, sort of a pattern that we see with Daniel Suarez. It's getting sort of hard to deny that he races these Trackhouse cars with a chip on his shoulder. Is that wrong? It's come up again and again now since the clash. I mean, we've seen like
it goes back further.
He keeps What's that?
It goes back further than this. Chicago last year in the media center, and that was right after it was announced that Suarez wasn't going to return to Trackhouse. Like, he kind of basically laid it all out there. He didn't feel like he was getting the support that he wanted. The team, the organization had shifted, and they weren't listening to him. All of these things, and I have to go back and look at the exact quotes, but it was very heavily implied, if not directly said, of like they're basically catering to Shane and Ross, and they got Connor coming up, and everybody knows that Connor's coming up, and I'm not wanted here. And he very much felt like he was just getting shoved out the door, and he never really had a chance to save his job or anything like that. And so there was already this built up resentment and this chip on the shoulder then. And then you have the whole sequence of him, like, he's on a 1-year deal at Spire. He's racing for his career. You don't know what his future is going to be next year. This could be his last bite of the apple with a prominent Cup Series team. Like, he's got a lot to prove this year. And so, you add it all up. And then to your point, then, Jeff, you go back to Bowman Gray, and we could see it really manifest itself on the racetrack then.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, Daniel has had some speed this year, certainly. And again, he, after 5 races, is right on the cut line there. You've got McDowell is +5, Hocevar is +1, and Suarez is on the cut line in that 3-way tie for the last spot with Allmendinger and SVG. So he's doing what he needs to do. And, they've had some good runs at times. And it was a shame they weren't able to finish off. I think they look pretty fast at Phoenix. And so anyway, we'll see what comes of that. But it was interesting to hear him say that he thought Ross was two-faced and has felt that way for a while. Sort of some underlying tension there. But I was getting texts about it when I was at the other end of pit road, like, oh, they're showing this on TV. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. So I wasn't even able to see it till afterwards. So I'm a little bit behind on that one. Who else?
We need more feuds. Yeah. We need more of this. We need
Sure.
more bad blood. This is what this sport is all about. And this is why, and you have 2 high-profile drivers like that, heck yeah, former teammates, and let's air all the dirty laundry, please.
Well, I talked on the Gluck Cast this week about this is the 9 years since the Kyle Busch, Joey Logano video that helped my career quite a bit because I was on my own at the time and was able to get that video and helped me stay afloat in the industry. So more fight videos for me. I'm certainly wouldn't complain if that was the case, but you also got to be there when it happens. So, all right. Well, what else? Yeah. So what else from this race there? Did you want to talk about?
That was all I really had in my notes from Sunday's race in Las Vegas.
So,
can we mention Ty Gibbs? We did mention Ty Gibbs. We did mention top five finish. Like, he was in a points hole, and he's back in good spot now. And again, just all the noise and everything just keeps putting his head down and going to work. And he has been a pinata for a lot of people, but he is doing the things he is supposed to be doing right now.
Yeah, well, you talk about the noise, and since all this Gabehart stuff has happened, and it's come out that he was skipping meetings, and Gabehart criticized the preferential treatment that Ty Gibbs was getting. He has reeled off those 3 straight top 5. So, and he's moved up to 10th in points right now. But yeah, what I was starting to say was along the same lines of walking through the garage this week. Obviously teams get lined up by the lead car in points from their team, and then the other ones follow in. So like, they don't separate teams anymore. It's not like they line up everybody in order of points. It's the top car. So like the 48 hauler is right with the Hendrick cars, right? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, Gibbs and Spire Motorsports were neighbors this weekend. Like, and not even like, not separated, because there's the Neon Garage here has different sides. So like some teams and organizations will be completely across the way from each other, or could be separated by, 2 football fields. No, the area of Gibbs and Spire were like, they were all in the same cluster. And of course, tomorrow, in a federal courthouse in Charlotte, you will be back there to see the next chapter of Gibbs versus Gabehart / Spire. And so what is that, 10 a.m. or something? So what will you be looking forward to finding out? And what have you heard from these latest filings that jumped out at you?
It's getting bitter. Like, just talking to people and reading things. You had Jeff Dickerson, co-owner of Spire, his declaration came out this week, and he was just like, yeah, I had lunch with Chris Gabehart. I've had lunch many times with Chris Gabehart. We're friends. We've been friends since 2009. And, I helped him come down to NASCAR, helped him land his first job in NASCAR. Like, we're friends. Like, that's how this is in this industry. Just because you work for a team doesn't mean I'm not going to hang out with you or talk to you. Like, that's how this is. And there's a kind of a bubbling frustration of like, what from Spire's perspective of, why are we getting, what evidence do you have tangibly that shows that we did something we shouldn't have done? We negotiated in good faith with Chris Gabehart because we didn't believe he had a non-compete in his contract. We signed him. We have not accessed any of the information that he had or anything like that. There's been no tangible proof showing that. So like, why are we dragged into this? That's not the Gabehart part of it. That's a separate thing. But the Spire perspective is like, what are we doing here? And then Joe Gibbs Racing put their declaration out and rebutted it. It was like, no, like, here's what's going on, and here's how we feel like Gabehart has been honest, and he hasn't been sharing everything. And because he hasn't shared everything, he could be, theoretically be sharing it with Spire. And let's not kid ourselves, he works in the same building as their Cup Series team. So while he's not supposed to have any contact with the Cup Series team, he is still in the same area, in the vicinity, and there could be, just he's there. So how do you police that? So we'll see how this goes tomorrow. And that's going to be the interesting thing, is what the judge lays out, because this is a preliminary TRO. And so does that get extended? Does it go away? If it does get extended, for how long? And what are the parameters? What can Gabehart do at Spire, and what can he do? In the latest legal filing, Gibbs was basically said like, hey, we just don't want him in the building. Like, he just can't be in the building. He can continue to work there, but he can't be in the shop. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out tomorrow.
Well, he was in Las Vegas, so we'll see what the judge says.
At any point, like, he walked over to like the Joe Gibbs side of the garage and was like, hey guys, I miswrote down a number in my folder. Can I just look at my old notes that you guys have and just to make sure and just cross check? Do you think there was any of that?
I'll tell you what. There's some. The impression I get is quite a bit of bad blood now. Has whatever could have been worked out before, in December, separation agreement, whatever. From what I understand from the Gibbs side, they're like, we are going all the way. Screw a settlement. We're going all the way. And now Spire as well feels like, no, screw this. We're going all the way. So there's some very ill feelings. The more that has come out here, they're not happy, and both sides are out to prove their point. And so this doesn't seem like, initially it's just like, oh, this is a silly little thing. This will get worked out. It's just a separation agreement.
It's $8 million. Whatever. Like, it's not that much money in the grand scheme of things. $8 million. Like, figure it out. Like, yeah, baby Gabehart has to set out 3 months or some small amount of time or whatever. Now it's like, no, like, this is, the gloves are off, and like, it's personal, and it's like they're lawyering up. Each side has, and it feels like this feels more like it was going to go to the distance than really at points of the NASCAR trial with 2311. Like, I always felt like that was going to get settled. This feels like the gloves are off, and like, this is just knockdown drag out.
Speaking of the NASCAR trial, one question we've gotten so much, Jordan, is whatever happened with the Richard Childress stuff?
Yes.
We never got the conclusion of the whole thing of, man, like, there was something going on there, and they gave the agreement, and what happened? Like, whatever happened? Well, we've now gotten the court transcripts. All this time, the court transcripts were they were not out. It's taken this long for the court reporters to actually, have that be there. And so one thing that's in these court transcripts that have come out is, every time they would have these sidebars, the judge would say, all right, we're going to have to go do this.
We go in the back chambers.
Right? Yeah. The court reporter would get up, and she'd take her headphones, and she'd unplug her machine and walk with the thing, the portable version of the machine or whatever. And she followed them in, and she would take the notes. Well, these are in the filings, like the transcripts. So we now see the behind the scenes of what was going on. Right. And so basically what comes out here is the law firm that NASCAR's law firm was also representing the buyer, right? The bidders, including Bobby Hillin Jr., I guess, for a possible stake in Richard Childress Racing. And so somehow it was forwarded to them as part of this. They were part of the same law firm or something. They're not sure exactly how he got it. Is Yates is saying it's kind of unclear.
Like a company newsletter or something was put in a company newsletter and got sent out or something.
Yeah, it's murky.
Yeah.
And so so the judge here in the transcript, he says, well, they're arguing back and forth, right? And he said, well, some of that, this is the judge, some of that I don't have to explore if you settle. Now we're going to get to the bottom of all these facts, and it's going to be publicly disclosed exactly what happened because the public cares. It came up during the trial, and of course I care. But he goes on to say that, listen, like, if given the fact you think you're going to settle this, if it doesn't settle this, he's saying it doesn't have to be now. If it doesn't settle, we're going to explore this more promptly. And so it sounds like, that was sort of the end of this. And I imagine there's some behind the scenes stuff of like, the bar, the ethics kind of thing, but I don't think anything ever came of it further in terms of like in the court that we know of. So I think that them settling it at that point kind of made some of this go away, unless Childress wants to take further action himself, if that makes sense. But
it doesn't sound like Richard wants to do that. He was very much wanting to put this behind him and does not want to talk about it, has not talked about it. It's just basically eyes forward.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So that'll be interesting. I do see though that like some of your colleagues here who were hoping to get back I know there's a bunch of red-eye flights trying to get back in time for court tomorrow, but it sounds like there's some weather in Charlotte, and it's actually grounded some of the teams. The team planes are going to be spending an extra night here. We just saw Freddie Kraft tweeted that door bumper clear will be delayed a day this week because their plane's not going tonight. So,
oh boy,
yeah, apparently that's going to be quite the. You can imagine the casinos are going to do it
unexpectedly. Yeah. Oh man, the horror. Oh, what will they ever do? There's nothing to do. You're like, you go to bed at like 8:30. It's like, man, there's nothing going on. There's nowhere to eat. There's no show. There's nothing. Probably just flip on the TV, watch baseball. Yeah, how boring.
Big Owls is probably like, man, all the lost business we're going to get is going all to the casinos in Vegas right now. I'm sure team guys, and if that's the case, if teams really are not able to get back out from Vegas, but yeah, it's going to be.
Oh man!
Now there is, I believe there's some people doing a tire test here tomorrow as well. I think Chase Briscoe is one of those doing a tire test tomorrow.
Byron is too, yeah.
Byron, okay, yeah. So some of them were already going to be staying here. So
this could be the most well-attended tire test in NASCAR history tomorrow.
Yeah, I guess. Well, no, I think some of them they should be able to go back, but yeah.
I don't know. The weather's supposed to be really bad. It's supposed to be, I don't want to say an all-day thing, but it's going to be kind of throughout the day. So we'll see. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, we saw in the O'Reilly race, Kyle Larson was able to win that. He had a busy weekend. I think Kyle Larson did 5 races this weekend because he did 3 high limit races, plus O'Reilly and then Cup. His protege Corey Day won one of the high limit races, dueled Larson in another one, and then I think he seems to be contrite and seems to be understanding, that he's got to clean it up. And if you look at the points, I mean, Corey Day is, he's been very much criticized, right? But like the high limit drivers, some of them became like, we had Rico Abreu come in, we had Gio Scelzi come in, and then Brad Sweet, who is now retired from full-time driving, but obviously co-owner of the high limit series. I asked them about like, what is, you guys race against Corey Day, right? Like, so what do you think about his talent? And, they just feel like he's extremely talented, but it's just a matter of like, he doesn't have that much experience in bigger cars and stock cars. And he's just trying to find, the limit, so to speak there. But, yeah, he's gotten in a lot of incidents and maybe he hasn't handled that well, like in terms of taking the accountability for it. That part, I think he needs to shore up. But you look at the points, he's 7th in the standings. So, I think there's a lot of runway there for him to clean things up and make people sort of forget the rough starts that he's had. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree 100%. And I think there, you look at his background, it's like, this is a really hard transition to make. I mean, you mentioned those guys. Casey Kane struggled terribly his first year in NASCAR. Tony Stewart was up and down. It is Kenny Irwin. Like, it is really, really hard to make this transition. And it's not like it used to be. You don't have multiple hour-long practice sessions anymore. Your seat time is so limited. It's unfairly so. Like, if you're going to use the Xfinity Series as a developmental series, and it is, and that's the part too, is like, it's a little bit of this hodgepodge of, well, we're developing the NASCAR's next champions, but we also got career racers here. It's like, you're going to have guys like Corey Day come along who are uber talented, who have the ability and deserve the reps. This is where they should be, and you're going to have to give them a little bit of grace. And I agree with you. Like, yes, you can better handle yourself a little bit, and you need to maybe do a better job of car control, and maybe you don't need to race a guy tooth and nail for 5th or 6th at the end of a race, and just be smart about it. 100%. But this series is about learning, it's development, it's about getting better and then learning a skill set that you don't necessarily have and owning that. He is obviously doing that. Like, let's back off a little bit and give him that. And he has gotten better. And, if he's still doing this at the end of this year, then he deserves the criticism and everything, and he should handle it better. But this is a guy who has got a wealth of talent. And how many I would say, you probably out of media, you probably know Kyle Larson as well as anybody, Jeff. I haven't heard Kyle Larson come to bat and defend somebody like he does Corey Day. Like, and that tells me a lot that Kyle Larson is basically saying, I believe in this guy. I'm pushing him. And like that just speaks volumes to me. Like, let's let him have that runway to get better and then have a true assessment at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, all the dirt guys are like, you know, Rico Avery was like, man, you guys are getting a great talent here, and he's going to figure it out. So, I tend to think that would probably be the case. Jordan, it's time to talk about whether this was a good race. Now, to me, you know, I think stage 1 was a little bit dry. Stage 2, you had some good action. There were certainly times where the restarts were sensational, as they always are here, but to me, this sort of was the standard sort of typical Vegas race for the most part. Like, it just was, I don't know. This is kind of what Vegas races are. Even with the next gen car, Vegas has sort of lagged behind at times.
Yeah, it's not,
you know, a Charlotte, a Homestead, a Kansas. It's not really at that level for the most part.
No, it's not. It's if you were going to rank the intermediate tracks, like, it's probably at or very bottom of the intermediates. Maybe Texas, but actually Texas has gotten a lot better, by the way. But it's just not that way. And I agree with you. I will say this: like, I think this would have race maybe would have played out differently if you wouldn't have had the Briscoe and Ty Gibbs and have guys kind of fall back and Hamlin. It's like you could have had a much more entertaining race. Now, granted, it probably would have been among teammates, but I think you would have had a little bit more. And I think that's going to cloud it a little bit, but it wasn't, it felt like it was just like you kind of figured out who the winner, you knew what team was going to win. You just didn't know which driver from that team.
All right. Why don't you give your guess first? Cause I have Chase Briscoe's guess here. That was, we talked about it on pit road, what his guess was going to be. Chase needed a little bit of information, to be honest. Cause he was like, we were doing the interview scrum, and he's like, hey, wait, wait, before you leave, I have a question for you. What happened?
Well, he was so far back. He's soliciting feedback from people to get a vote. You can't do that, I was told. That's not fair.
He's like, I didn't even see the race. I was a lap down for most of the race. I couldn't even see what was happening.
This is double standard. I will not tolerate this. The hypocrisy.
Dude, throw the guy a bone. He's winless in our poll. And he is. I'm winning 3-2, and it's 0. He signed up to play.
I feel bad for him. I really do. I feel bad for him because, like, in all seriousness, like, he gets out of the race car. It's like, dude, you just slammed into a wall at Phoenix. Like, it was a brutal, hard hit. And your day, it was miserable. And you finished 36th or 37th for like the 3rd time in 4 races. Oh, by the way, hey, what did you think of the rest of the race, though, Chase? Like, that's just, it's. You know,
I didn't even ask. I mean, he just. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Lincoln. But how was the play? Like, literally, that's it.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you on the Gluck Cast this week, he was willing to come on. It was very nice of him to talk about how bad things have been going, basically. And like when he logged into the Gluck Cast, his power was out in his house, and he had to go find a window, the one window that the sunlight was coming in, so he could be lit up for the YouTube part. Then he got his. I don't know if you saw, he got a speeding ticket today on the way to the track. He said he was going 12 over, and then on pit road here, he got a speeding ticket for going 0.4 over. So, you know, it's just been, at least he was able to rally back. But yeah, so why don't you give your percentage? Because I have ours already.
62%.
Oh, okay. Low, pretty low there you're going.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens here, because I went through and I was like, you know, to me, this feels like the average next gen race here. So I went through and I took the average. I calculated the 8 next gen races, and I took the average, which is 75.7. It felt like just the normal Vegas race. So I'm going to guess 75.7. Unfortunately for me, I've boxed myself in a little bit here. I don't have much on the upside because Chase Briscoe has gone 76.3.
Ooh.
So he's on the high end. So
like, he's not going to win. Like, I'm sorry. Like, he's not. Mrs. Lincoln is not winning this week.
Okay, so you think he went too high?
Yeah, he's too high.
Oh, he's gonna. Because I'm gonna. Shoot, he's gonna blame me then if it's a little bit lower, because I'm the one. I was trying to tell him what had happened in the race, and oh dear. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right.
I hope it's just 1 week he just quits in like frustrations. Like, I'm out.
He's like, why am I doing this? I can't see the race. Like, you know, what's the point here? Like, why am I playing this stupid game with you guys?
We should get James Small to do this, by the way, too, as well, because that would be entertaining.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he'd love to do this. I'm sure he would love to participate in this. Yeah, that would be a real thrill for James Small. Oh. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody for listening. Darlington is next, and as you've heard there, it sounds like there's going to be some excitement potentially there with the 750 package plus which includes the short track package, the lower downforce stuff. So that's going to be exciting. Jordan will be there at Darlington to check all that out. Not technically a throwback weekend, Jordan. Some teams will be doing.
Honestly, I'm okay with it. Like it needed to hit the pause button. Like it just became too much. And last year, a lot of people weren't doing it. The enthusiasm wasn't there. Like it needs to go away for a while. It's like that girlfriend you're with for a while, and you're like, I'm really bored with you. I just need you to go away for a little bit so I can miss you again and want to spend time with you. That's what this is, like a throwback weekend. You've never broken up with somebody. You never broken up with somebody and be like, hey, I just need to hit the pause button here because like I just need to get, things aren't working right now. And then you're like, hey, I kind of miss them.
No.
Never.
I've never done that.
You've never reconnected with a girlfriend you broke up with before?
No.
Really? Okay.
No, I haven't. So you say you you just got bored?
Relationship
tell us something, Jordan.
The relationship hit its natural course. It just, we're not getting what I want out of this. You're not getting what you want. We're done. We're going to go our separate ways. And then you reconnect.
And then you change your mind and you're like, oh, come on back.
Then you realize, you know what? I really didn't mind that little quirk that was driving me nuts. That was actually kind of cute. I kind of missed that. Or you know what? Maybe you've matured and you look at things from a different perspective. And then you're like, hey, you know what? I made a mistake. And maybe that's what NASCAR is going to do with the throwback. It's like, hey, you know what? In a couple of years, I made a mistake. We need to bring that throwback back. But,
dude, you're making my eyes have been, it was so windy here today and my eyes were just getting sandblasted. And it's like now you're making me cry out of laughter here and it's burning my eyes even more.
So
oh my God, that's hilarious.
Every woman you've ever broken up with, you've never reconnected with in any facet? Like, that's it. You're just done.
Yeah, like if you make the decision, you're like, hey, like it's not working out, then you're done. You don't get back together like that. No, that's it. Like I've never.
Okay. Wow.
That's fascinating though. I think we should hear more about this sometime in your therapy sessions, Jordan. Anyway, this hurts my eyes so much. I got to get out of here. Everybody, thanks for listening. I'll talk to you on the Gluck Cast Thursday. And we'll see you otherwise next week from Darlington. See you, everybody.